polio, dracunculiasis, malaria. All are diseases that humanity is currently trying to conquer. The model for the mission of eliminating these diseases can be found in the Smallpox Eradication Program. The effort to eradicate smallpox began about the same time America declared its independence from King George III. However, smallpox, a disease that has killed billions of people, wasn't eradicated until 1980, nearly 200 years after the vaccine was first exchanged. The eradication of smallpox was possible because of the exploration of medical technology, the encounters of doctors, scientists, and civilians around the world, and the exchange of information and vaccines across oceans and continents. Historically, the eradication of smallpox was one of the most important leaps in the medical field and revolutionized what humanity could do as a whole. The first time smallpox was encountered was 10,000 years ago in Africa. Smallpox was the disease that was thought to have sparked the first epidemic in history. It wasn't until 1796 that there was a safe strategy to tackle smallpox. British physician Edward Jenner created what became the first vaccine against a disease. The vaccine was both embraced and shunned. Supporting the vaccine, President Thomas Jefferson wrote to Jenner, "Future generations will know by history only that the loathsome smallpox existed, and by you has been extirpated." On the contrary, satirists James Gilray drew a comic in 1802 representing the vaccinated to morph into cows. As people such as Gilray were apprehensive towards the new vaccine, the real fight against smallpox didn't start for another 150 years. It wasn't until January 1st, 1967, that the Smallpox Eradication Program was officially underway. By then, people from 44 countries were dying of smallpox. Eradication of a disease was an extremely difficult task that definitely had its doubters. Many scientific explorations proved helpful in eliminating smallpox. A new discovery, known as freeze-dried vaccine, proved critical in delivering vaccine. In the past, the quality of a liquid vaccine without refrigeration within 40 hours would be at risk. The Smallpox Eradication Program was working in third world countries where materials would be very limited.
Of cowpox for vaccination, there have been many improvements. Most recently, the discovery that vaccine can be successfully freeze-dried. Vaccine is now manufactured in the endemic areas themselves, and thanks to the freeze-drying process, it has become almost totally reliable even in hot climates.
The freeze-dry vaccine was very heat-stable and could encounter 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit temperatures while still providing immunity from smallpox. Another valuable exploration was the bifurcated needle, which could vaccinate 4 times as many people compared to a standard vial of vaccine. The cost was 1/4 cent, and they were very easy to reuse. This suddenly made the economics of the Smallpox Eradication Program possible.
In 1968, the World Health Organization introduced the bifurcated needle, which has revolutionized the job of vaccination. One man can now successfully vaccinate up to 1,000 people in one day, using much less vaccine than with the older methods.
In 1967, Dr. William Foge, an American advisor working in Nigeria, failed to receive a shipment of vaccine. Foge was exploring different ways to help eradicate smallpox in Nigeria, but was struggling with a limited amount of resources. His explorations led to a strategy of surveillance and containment.
The idea of finding the cases and then really pinpointing the vaccination right around the patient.
The explorations were set. Even though a vaccine was ready and a strategy was prepared, many problems were encountered. From the beginning, smallpox wasn't favored to be one of the diseases humanity wanted to eradicate. Part of the problem was that smallpox wasn't the World Health Organization's top priority. That was malaria. However, with the failure of eradicating malaria, the idea of eliminating smallpox was encountered with hesitancy. Another large problem encountered was that people were reluctant to be vaccinated. In India, Sitala Mata, a smallpox goddess who many believed would alone provide immunity from the dreadful disease, influenced many to shun vaccination. As if that wasn't enough, population density drastically slowed down the eradication's progression. During the time of the eradication of smallpox, the population density of India was approximately 450 people per square mile, therefore making the odds of catching smallpox where one person was infected very high.
Indian families moved around the country more than we had realized they did. And they would go by bus, go by train, go walk, mule cart. But they often moved as a whole family. So if somebody came down with smallpox in a city, they would many times retreat back to their home villages and at that point spread it to everybody in the village.
In addition, people were scared of being vaccinated because of rare but possible side effects. According to John Wickett, a virus hunter in southern Asia, people would lock their doors sometimes when we came by. We hired these little kids to go over the walls of the homes and open the door for us from the inside. For every negative problem encountered, there seemed to be a positive alternative. By 1970, 20 African countries eliminated smallpox. The Western Hemisphere eradicated smallpox in April 1971, when Brazil became free of smallpox. The last case of smallpox was reported in 1977 in Mursa, Somalia. On May 8, 1980, the 33rd World Health Assembly declared that smallpox was dead. For the first time in human history, a deadly disease, which killed 500 million people in just the 20th century, was officially eradicated from the planet. The eradication of smallpox was possible because of the exploration of medical technology, the encounters of doctors, scientists, and civilians around the world, and the exchange of information and vaccines across oceans and continents. Because this disease is dead, many more will live. What once seemed impossible, like eradicating a disease from the entire planet, is now possible.